The family vacation disaster. Have you ever gone on a family trip that was supposed to bring everyone closer, but instead it nearly tore you apart? I've always believed that family vacations were meant to be moments of bonding. You know, laughing over silly games, eating too much junk food in the car, fighting over the AUX cord but still feeling like you belong together. At least, that's what I thought before the worst vacation of my life. It all started when my mom decided that our family desperately needed a getaway. "We never spend time together anymore," she announced one Sunday morning at breakfast. My dad was buried in his newspaper, my little sister Emma was scrolling through her phone, and my older brother Jason was half asleep over his cereal. Nobody jumped at the idea. But Mom had already made up her mind. She booked a week-long trip to the mountains, a rented cabin, quality family time, and no excuses. At first, I thought it might actually be fun. The cabin photos looked cozy, the hiking trails promised adventure, and I kind of liked the idea of being away from the noise of the city. But I should have known better. You ever feel like the second the car doors close, your family becomes unbearable? The disaster started on the drive up. The cabin was 5 hours away, and somehow, my parents thought it would be a brilliant idea to stuff all four of us, and Emma's oversized suitcase, into one car. Jason claimed the front seat before I could even blink, which left me and Emma squished in the back. She kept kicking my leg by accident, and every time I complained, my mom snapped, "Stop fighting, we haven't even left the neighborhood." 2 hours in, Jason decided he was the DJ, blasting his terrible playlist while Dad yelled at him to pick something everyone likes. Mom kept asking if anyone was hungry, even though she'd packed enough snacks to feed an army. Meanwhile, Emma's TikTok videos were playing at full volume, and I swear I considered opening the door and rolling onto the highway just for peace and quiet. By the time we arrived at the cabin, I was already exhausted. At first, the cabin seemed perfect. It was tucked away in the trees, with a big porch overlooking the mountains. But of course, the problems started instantly. The Wi-Fi didn't work. "This is good," Mom declared, clapping her hands like a camp counselor. "We'll disconnect and spend time together as a family." Jason nearly had a breakdown. How am I supposed to talk to my friends? Or game? Or literally exist? Emma was equally horrified. No Wi-Fi means no TikTok. This is child abuse. I tried not to laugh, but honestly, I was panicking too. A whole week with no internet? Just us? It was a nightmare waiting to happen. The first hike set the tone for the trip. Mom insisted we all go together, even though Jason wore slides instead of sneakers and Emma refused to carry her own water bottle. Dad kept storming ahead like we were in some kind of military training, yelling at us to pick up the pace. 10 minutes in, Jason twisted his ankle on a rock and refused to go any further. "This is stupid," he grumbled, sitting dramatically in the dirt. Emma started complaining about bugs, sweat, and her hair frizzing. Mom tried to keep everyone positive, "Come on, we're making memories." But her voice cracked in that way that told me she was about to lose it. We turned back less than half an hour later. At this point, I thought it couldn't get worse. Spoiler, it absolutely did. The real disaster came on the third day. It was supposed to be our big bonding day, a picnic by the lake. Mom had been planning it since before we left. She packed sandwiches, fruit, drinks, even a blanket for us to sit on. She was practically glowing with excitement. The lake, to be fair, was gorgeous. Clear water, mountains in the background, sunlight bouncing off the surface. For a few minutes, it almost felt like the trip might be saved. But then Jason and I started arguing. It began small. He accused me of eating his sandwich. I said it was fair game because Mom had packed everything in one basket. He grabbed the last soda before I could, and I shoved him. He shoved me back, harder. Suddenly we were wrestling in the grass, yelling insults, while Emma filmed us on her phone like she was live-streaming a reality show. "Stop it!" Mom screamed, her voice breaking. This was supposed to be a nice day. Dad stormed over, red-faced. You two are acting like children. Do you realize how much your mother planned for this? Jason and I froze, still glaring at each other. But it was too late. Mom's face crumpled. She turned away, muttering, "Why do I even try?" The silence after that was worse than the fight. We packed up early and drove back to the cabin, no one speaking the whole way. The rest of the trip spiraled from there. Jason refused to leave his room. Emma sulked and refused to participate in anything. Dad and Mom started arguing, first quietly, then loud enough that even with my headphones on, I could hear every word. Mom accused him of not supporting her. Dad accused her of forcing the trip in the first place. I felt caught in the middle. I wanted to escape, but there was nowhere to go. No Wi-Fi, no friends, no distractions. Just us. On the last night, it all came to a head. Mom had cooked dinner, spaghetti, our supposed family favorite. She set the table, trying one last time to make things work. But Jason muttered something under his breath about fake family dinners, Emma rolled her eyes, and Dad snapped at everyone to just eat in silence. That's when Mom broke down. She started crying, right there at the table. "Do you guys even realize how hard I tried?" she asked, her voice shaking. All I wanted was 1 week. 1 week where we could just be together. I thought maybe we'd remember what it's like to love each other. But instead, I feel like I've lost you all. The room went still. I'd never seen my mom cry like that before. And suddenly, all the fights, all the pettiness, all the whining, it felt so small compared to how much this meant to her. Jason looked guilty. Emma put down her phone. Even Dad softened, reaching over to take Mom's hand. And for the first time that week, we actually sat together, not arguing, not ignoring each other, just being a family. Direct hit final hook for reflection. Sometimes it takes hitting rock bottom as a family before you realize what really matters. The vacation was still a disaster. I won't sugarcoat it. But that last night changed something. Jason apologized, grudgingly, but he did. Emma admitted she should have helped more. Dad promised to stop being so harsh. And me? I realized that even when family drives you absolutely insane, there's still the people who'll be there when it matters. When we got home, Mom swore she'd never force another trip again. But secretly, I think she was glad we went, because even though it was messy, even though it was chaotic, it reminded us of something we'd forgotten. We don't need the perfect vacation. We just need each other. The secret my sister hid. What would you do if you discovered your sibling was hiding a secret that could destroy your entire family's trust? Growing up with a sister means you share everything, your parents, your home, sometimes even your clothes. But what if one day you realized your sibling was hiding something so big, it could change the way your family sees them forever? That's exactly what happened to me last year, when I uncovered a secret my sister had been keeping for months. And trust me, it nearly broke our family apart. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones you know the least about. My sister, Chloe, is 2 years younger than me. I'm 19, she's 17. On the surface, she's always been the golden child. Straight A student, respectful, quiet, the type of kid every parent dreams about. Me? I've always been the rule breaker. I stay out late, argue with my parents more, and I'm not exactly the model child. That's probably why I was the first to notice something was off with Chloe. It started small. She became secretive with her phone. Normally, she'd leave it lying around without caring, but suddenly it was glued to her hand. She'd flinch if anyone tried to glance at her screen. Then she started sneaking out at night. I'd hear the front door creak open around midnight, footsteps on the driveway, then silence. By the time morning came, she'd be back in her bed, pretending nothing happened. At first, I thought maybe she had a boyfriend. Honestly, that would have been normal. But the more I watched, the stranger it got. One night, curiosity got the better of me. When I heard her slip out of the house, I followed. I expected her to meet some guy at the end of the street. Instead, she walked nearly 2 miles to a part of town we usually avoided, the abandoned industrial district. I stayed hidden, watching as she slipped into an old warehouse. My heart was pounding. What could she possibly be doing there? I wanted to march in and demand answers, but I held back. Instead, I waited until she left and then marked the location on my phone. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind spun with possibilities. Was she involved in something illegal? Drugs? Gangs? Why else would she go to such a place? What I found the next day shocked me more than I ever imagined. The next afternoon, while she was at school, I snuck into her room. I know, it was an invasion of privacy. But my gut told me something was seriously wrong. Her backpack was hidden under the bed. Inside, I found a stack of envelopes stuffed with cash. At least a few $100s. My stomach dropped. Where would she get that kind of money? Suddenly, all the sneaking out made sense. My mind went straight to the worst conclusions: selling drugs, stealing, something criminal. When she got home that day, I confronted her. "Chloe, what's going on?" I asked, holding up one of the envelopes. Her face went pale. "What are you doing in my stuff? Don't flip this on me. You're sneaking out at night, hiding cash. Tell me what's happening before I tell Mom and Dad." Her eyes filled with tears. For a second, I thought she was about to confess. But instead, she shoved past me and locked herself in the bathroom. That night, she wouldn't speak to me at all. The guilt was eating me alive, but so was the fear. I couldn't let it go. So the next time she left at midnight, I followed again. This time I went inside the warehouse. And what I saw nearly broke me. Inside, Chloe wasn't with criminals. She wasn't selling drugs. She wasn't doing anything illegal. She was painting. Massive murals covered the inside walls of the warehouse, swirls of color, portraits of people I didn't recognize, words that seemed to pour straight out of her soul. And there she was, standing on a ladder with a spray can in her hand, completely in her element. I was stunned. "Chloe?" I whispered. She nearly fell off the ladder when she saw me. "What are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" "What are you doing here?" She froze, can still in her hand, paint on her clothes. Then she sighed. "You weren't supposed to find out. Sometimes the truth isn't dangerous. It's just hidden." Turns out, Chloe had discovered graffiti months ago. Not the vandalism type, but real street art. She'd met a group of local artists who used abandoned spaces as canvases. They'd taught her techniques, encouraged her, and even started paying her for commissions on walls around the city. That explained the money. But here's the thing, our parents would never approve. They were strict, the kind who believed art was a hobby, not a life path. To them, sneaking out to paint graffiti would be the ultimate betrayal. "I wasn't doing anything bad," Chloe pleaded. I finally found something that feels like me. But Mom and Dad would never understand." I stared at the walls around us. Her work was incredible. Honestly, I had no idea my sister was that talented. But she was right, our parents would freak out. I promised I wouldn't tell them. But secrets have a way of slipping out. A week later, Mom found paint on Chloe's clothes while doing laundry. Bright blue streaks that definitely didn't come from school supplies. The interrogation started at dinner. "Chloe, what's this?" Mom demanded, holding up the shirt. Chloe froze. Dad's eyes narrowed. I panicked. If I stayed quiet, Chloe would be cornered. If I spoke, the secret would explode. Finally, Chloe broke down. She told them everything: the painting, the warehouse, the commissions, the money. The room went silent. Then Dad erupted. "You've been sneaking out at night? Risking your safety? And for this?" He gestured at the paint stains like they were poison. Mom looked heartbroken. "Why didn't you just tell us?" Chloe's voice cracked. "Because you'd never let me," You'd tell me it's a waste of time. That it's wrong. But it's the only thing that makes me happy. That dinner turned into the biggest fight our family had ever seen. Dad called her irresponsible. Mom said she was being dishonest. Chloe shouted back that they never listened to her, never cared about what she wanted. And me? I just sat there, caught in the crossfire, wishing I could make it all stop. By the end of the night, Chloe stormed to her room in tears. Dad slammed the door to his study. Mom cried in the kitchen. Our family felt shattered. The next morning, I found Chloe packing a bag. I'm leaving, she whispered. If they don't accept me, I'll figure it out on my own. My heart sank. I couldn't let her walk away like that. Chloe, wait. They're mad because they're scared. Not because they don't love you. She shook her head. They'll never understand. But then I had an idea. I grabbed my phone, pulled up pictures I'd secretly taken of her murals, and showed them to Mom and Dad. Look, I said. This isn't vandalism. It's art. She's good, really good. Maybe instead of shutting her down, you should try to see what she sees. For a long moment, they said nothing. Then Mom's expression softened. Dad's didn't, not right away, but at least he was listening. That weekend, I convinced them to visit the warehouse. Chloe was terrified when she saw them walk in. But instead of yelling, Mom just stared at the walls. These are yours, she whispered. Chloe nodded. For the first time, I saw pride in Mom's eyes. Even Dad looked conflicted. I still don't like how you went about it, he said slowly. But, this is impressive. Chloe's shoulders sagged with relief. It wasn't a perfect ending. There were still arguments, still restrictions, still distrust. But that day, something shifted. Our parents started to see Chloe as more than the perfect daughter. They started to see her as an artist. And me? I realized that sometimes protecting a secret isn't about hiding it, it's about finding the right way to tell it. Family secrets can break you apart, or bring you closer, if you're brave enough to face them. The day my parents lied to me. Have you ever found out that your parents weren't telling you the full truth about your life? What if the people you trusted most were keeping the biggest secret from you? I used to think my family was ordinary. 2 parents, 1 child, a dog, the usual suburban life. Sure, we had our ups and downs, but I always believed my parents were honest with me. That belief shattered the day I found out they had been lying to me my entire life. It started with something small. I was digging through old boxes in the attic, looking for photos for a school project. My mom had always been big on documenting everything, baby pictures, vacations, family holidays, so I thought I'd find plenty of material. And I did, but I also found something I wasn't supposed to. At the bottom of a dusty box, under a pile of photo albums, there was a sealed envelope with my name on it. My handwriting hadn't put it there, obviously. This was neat, adult handwriting. My mom's. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. Inside was a birth certificate. At first, I thought it was just the normal one, but something didn't add up. The names listed under parents weren't my mom and dad. They were 2 names I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped. In that moment, I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. I must have sat there for 20 minutes, staring at the paper. The more I read it, the clearer it became, the people who had raised me weren't my biological parents. I stumbled downstairs, clutching the certificate. My mom was in the kitchen, humming while she made tea, completely unaware that my world had just imploded. Mom, I said, my voice shaking. What is this? The moment she saw the paper, the color drained from her face. She set down the mug and leaned against the counter like she'd been punched. Where did you find that? She whispered. In the attic, I said. Is this some kind of mistake? Because it says my parents are 2 people I've never even heard of. Her eyes filled with tears. We were going to tell you. We just didn't know when. And just like that, the truth came spilling out. I wasn't their biological child. I had been adopted when I was a baby. Apparently, my biological parents were very young and couldn't take care of me. They gave me up, and my mom and dad, well, the people I thought were my mom and dad, took me in. They never meant to keep it from me forever, they just never found the right time to explain. I felt betrayed. 17 years, I snapped. You had 17 years to tell me. And you never did. Dad came home while I was yelling. He tried to calm me down, but I couldn't stop. My whole life suddenly felt like a lie. Every birthday, every family memory, every I love you, did they mean it, or was it just something they said because they felt like they had to? That night, I locked myself in my room. I didn't eat dinner, didn't talk, didn't even cry. I just lay there, numb, staring at the ceiling. I didn't know what hurt more, the fact that I was adopted, or the fact that they hadn't trusted me with the truth. The next few days were rough. I barely spoke to my parents. Every time I looked at them, I saw strangers. Finally, Mom knocked on my door one evening. "Please, can we talk?" she asked. I didn't want to, but something in her voice made me let her in. She sat on the edge of my bed and handed me another envelope. This one was thicker, stuffed with letters, photos, documents. "These are from your birth parents," she said softly. "We kept them for you. We weren't hiding them out of malice. We just wanted you to feel like you belonged with us before you had questions. Sometimes the truth doesn't make things clearer. It just makes them heavier." I opened the envelope. Inside were photos of a young couple, barely older than teenagers, holding a baby. Me. Letters explaining why they gave me up. Notes about how much they loved me, how they hoped I'd grow up in a home that could give me what they couldn't. Reading those words broke me in a way I didn't expect. I wasn't abandoned because I wasn't wanted. I was given up because I was loved. Tears blurred my vision as I read. My mom, my adoptive mom, put her arm around me, and for the first time in days, I didn't pull away. But the anger didn't vanish overnight. I still struggled. I started asking questions. Who were they? Where were they now? Did they think about me? My parents told me they had limited contact over the years, but my birth parents had respected the boundary. They wanted me to have a stable life without confusion. "They loved you enough to let you go," Dad said one night. "And we love you enough to raise you as our own." For the first time, I realized both sets of parents had made sacrifices for me. Different kinds of love, but love nonetheless. Family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who show up for you every single day. It took weeks, maybe months, for me to come to terms with it. There were still moments where the betrayal stung, moments where I wondered why they hadn't trusted me with the truth sooner. But slowly, I began to heal. I reached out to my birth parents eventually. It wasn't some dramatic reunion like in the movies. It was awkward, emotional, and overwhelming. But it also gave me closure. They told me they were proud of me, grateful I'd had a good life. And for the first time, I believed that maybe everything had happened the way it was supposed to. Now, when I look at my parents, the ones who raised me, I don't see liars anymore. I see people who were scared, who made mistakes, but who loved me fiercely through all of it. Yes, they kept the truth from me longer than they should have. Yes, it hurt. But at the end of the day, they're still my parents. And maybe that's the hardest part of growing up. Realizing your parents aren't perfect. They're just people, trying to do their best. Sometimes the truth shatters the image you had of your family. But if you look closely, you might see something stronger underneath, the love that never changes, no matter what.